All right, today's topic is to clean and inspect the major pieces. If everything looks good, we're going to replace the O-ring. And this is probably the most consuming part of the reassembly, because if you do it right and take your time, it'll last longer. No mechanical failure, O-ring will last longer. All right, first we're going to start is the valve housing. This little housing here does a lot of functions, and it has a lot of O-rings in it. And I'll show you how to inspect and replace all the O-rings and the cautions. First thing here is a valve seat inside, and sometimes they do break and you have to replace them. And you're going to use something small that goes through the valve rod in. All right. Since we're going to push on the back side of the valve seat, you're not going to damage the actual sealing surface. What you do is gradually push it like side to side. You know, like 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Don't concentrate on one area, you'll jam it and it won't slide out. And it's only held by an O-ring in place. And there she goes. Here's your valve seat. To inspect this piece, usually on the back side, if it has an actual break, you will see a little teeny crack on there. That's when it's starting to crack on you. Let me look at it. Like me and my tired eyes, I need glasses. Okay. All right, you inspect it, there's no crack on it. And you gotta inspect the actual, three pieces here. Anyway, here's your actual Delaron seat on the valve rod that makes contact with the metal seat. Actually creates a seal. All right, sometime on the metal seat, there's kind of wear and tear. You'll see a little, well, it's not flush and smooth anymore. It has a little, divot or wear. And if it's deep enough, I usually replace the valve seat. And usually, common theory is if I replace the metal seat, I replace the Delaron seat. You can't actually take this apart. You have to actually replace the whole valve pin assembly. All right, let's pretend this is a good piece. All right, we're going to remove the O-ring. Be careful when you remove the O-ring. Usually I use my little dental pick here. That's probably the best one I ever used, but I don't gouge at the bottom. I kind of lay it, pretend it's the actual sealing surface in the bottom. I go underneath it without poking it and go underneath the O-ring and lift it up. So don't poke at the actual metal. Valve seat. Actually, this valve seat here, O-ring, is 7 mil by 1.070. Yeah. So, old O-ring. Now you remove the O-ring, actually clean it before you actually can inspect the sealing surface. Because you never know if you bought a used gun, somebody removed it, gouged it up, and that's why it's leaking. Sure, the rubber is flexible, can fill the gap, but when it's too deep, it cannot do it. You inspect all sides of the sealing surface. All right, clean it thoroughly. All right, grab your new O-ring. Remember, 7 by 1, and lightly lube your O-ring. Slide it over the valve seat. Now we'll put it to the side and it's ready to install later. Now, the valve seat, valve housing. You have to clean the inside bore. There's old silicone in there. whatever foreign matter just accumulates there, and it's too much, you might get into a valve seat. And I use this for example. I just shove it in there. All right. It's all right to shove the metal in here because, well, not too far to actually see a lip where actually O-ring sits on the valve seat. See, you see a lot of black buildup inside. You look inside, make sure the corner of the valve seat, this will be pressed in. Make sure the gap here in top and bottom, there's no accumulation of dirt inside there. If there is, the seat is not going to be fully flush with the body. Okay. Then, when your rag is clean, no more black residue, you're ready to install the valve seat back in. All right, now we're going to install the valve seat. The entrance of the valve seat, you lightly lubricate it. I use a synthetic lube, silicone. And also your O-ring on your valve seat, lightly lubricate. Now you need to know the orientation of the valve seat. You look at the O-ring, one side is off-center, the O-ring. If it's on the back side, the thin back side of the valve seat, go towards the transfer port, well, at the entrance. That you need to get the tool to install it. So right here we have a little Delron rod, pushes it in. It sits in center, so when you push it, it doesn't really, jam. All right. Now you need to look inside the transfer port, and you see the shoulder where the valve seat is supposed to bottom out. And you hear that click, usually it's fully seated. And you kind of look inside the transport and verify it is on the back side and fully seated. All right. Now we're going to remove the 10x2 O-rings on the outside of the valve housing. Remember, you just don't hit any metal. Just go underneath the O-ring on your smooth side you pick, slide over underneath the O-ring and lift it up. That one O-ring. Now you got to remove the old grease in each O-ring groove. While you're at it, clean the threads. They'll come out kind of dirty like that. Each O-ring groove has to be clean so you can inspect. Make sure there's no gouges. And while you're at cleaning, you could also clean your inner rod. Let's see, the inner rod will be flush with this hole here, and there's an O-ring here, and make sure the surface in here is clean. Comes out a little dirty. Then sometime I clean a transfer port hole. Anything loose I can get out. Alright. Now since it's clean, we can inspect individual, well, all O-ring grooves, no gouges. And usually I put this on a lathe and spin it and get all those, because you rub your finger on the edge of the O-ring groove and sometimes they're sharp. They feel sharp with my finger. I put in a lathe. I usually use this like 1200 grit little fabric cloth and run it through the edge and make sure that little sharp edge is not like a sharp knife. Because when pressure applied to it, it's going to shove that O-ring to the corner. It's going to sit on that sharp edge with all that pressure. And it's going to cut it up in a long while. It will damage it. All right, now we're getting ready to install the O-ring in it. What we have here is 10 by 2. Lightly lube it. When we do actual assembly, we'll install the last one. We're short of O-ring. All right, this valve housing is ready to be installed later.